Illariku Namaskara. So last Tuesday, I had discussed about the do's and don'ts when it comes to practicing yoga, or once you start your journey on the path of yoga. There are a couple of more things that you have to keep in mind before you start, your journey on the path of yoga. So last time I had discussed about cleanliness, food, bathing, place, time, how to practice, how the body has to be, how the brain has to be, how the mind has to be. So there are some additional things that you have to keep in mind apart from these things. So do these rule apply to everyone? Definitely no. If you have if everything is normal, you're completely healthy, there's absolutely no any kind of disturbance at all in your body and the mind, then whatever things that I have discussed in forms of the rules and regulations, or the do's and don'ts last Tuesday, that applies. You can just follow them without having any doubt, and be persistent in the practice and the implementing of the rules. So what about people who have high blood pressure and have this giddiness? Because these are the two things that are very common these days. So for anyone who's suffering from the blood pressure or dizziness, so we won't suggest you to practice the Shirshasana and Sarvangasana right away, because you and I start many a times, even the lot of sequences starts by practice of Shirshasana and Sarvangasana. So for individuals who are suffering from high blood pressure and giddiness, we suggest you do sitting forward bending, and then the Adho Mukha Svanasana, the down dog, and Uttanasana, standing forward bending, so that you mentally prepare your body and the mind. So once you prepare your body and the mind, and then slowly, by staying in the posture, the blood flow would have increased. The blood flow moves more towards the head, and then you would have prepared yourself, and then you can go towards the Shirshasana or the Sarvangasana, the headstand and the shoulder stand. So if you're suffering from giddiness, headache, or high blood pressure and all, please do not do the headstands directly. And if you suffer from high blood pressure or giddiness and all, and you're very young, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm talking about the individuals who have crossed like 50 or 60. At these days, I even see youngsters like in the early 30s with high blood pressure. It's only because of self-induced stress, or inability to cope with whatever work that you're doing, or your inability to enjoy the work that you're doing, or the inability of you connecting to the work that you're doing. It's only because of that you'll find it really difficult, to not to be with oneself, or you just lose the silence that is there. But by regular practice, it's possible. So do sitting forward bending, or standing forward bending, or the down dog, so that you prepare yourself, and then you can get into the headstand and the shoulder stand series. And what about women? What can they practice when they are menstruating, or when they are on their every month, the monthly cycle? So definitely don't do the practices which causes a lot of strain in the physical body, because the body needs rest. That's the only reason. And then if you really feel like you're doing, and then Shirshasana and Sarvangasana, the headstand and the shoulder stand is a strict no, at least for the first 3 days. If you really wanna, if there's too much of cramps, or the pain in the legs, or the pull in the thighs and the back, you can do all the pelvic stretching practices, and the back strengthening practices, like the Upavishta Konasana and the Baddha Konasana series, and then the lying down. So these practices will help you reduce the pain or the discomfort that is there, or that you're experiencing during your monthly cycle. But as I said, definitely no headstand or shoulder stand during that point of time. What about pregnancy? So once you've conceived, the body definitely needs rest, at least for the first 2 to 3 months. Enjoy that time, to connect with the newborn. Spend time with it, and let your body rest, because 9 months you would have gone through this, the state, the pregnancy time, or 8 months, how much ever time you would have gone through. After that, you definitely need rest physically and most importantly mentally also. So we say, please do take rest for 3 months, and after 3 months you can slowly start your practice. Start off with the Surya Namaskaras, the stretches. Prepare yourself, prepare the body physically and mentally. Let it take time, let it get to know, because it would have been in rest for like 5 months or 3 months or 6 months, how much ever time you would have rested it for. So after you have rested your body, you have to again feed the information to it, right? So you prepare yourself by starting slow, and then once you start practicing within 1.5 months, you or 3 or 2 months, you can go back to the normal routine. But just because you've taken a break, then directly doing all the practices that you used to do before, it's a strict no. So go for a slow transition, so that again you don't have to take a break just because you didn't do the practice the way it has to be done. Okay, so that's one thing you have to keep in mind, what to do post delivery. And what about during the pregnancy? What are the practices that can be done? It's a different teaching altogether. We have practices for the first trimester, second trimester, and the third trimester, and the practices also differs. It differs, like if everything is normal, I just teach those practices which are needed for the lower back and the pelvis, and the breathing practices. If the blood sugar level goes up, there's a different set of practice. If there's nausea, if there's constant headache, you have this early morning sickness, the practices are different. Because once you can see, there's a lot of things that comes into factor. And then I'll have to take your earlier medical history to know, okay, what exactly did you suffer or did you have before you conceived. Everything, if there was something, then I have to take that also into consideration. But if everything was normal, I just teach the practices for pelvic strengthening, and then lower back strengthening, lateral stretching of the trunk, and then the pranayama. So where these are the practices which just help you for just overall well-being, because you will be under immense stress and this kind of loneliness of just being with you also. So just to make you feel more alive is what the practices will be aimed at. Most importantly, what should be the effect of these practices? Either you practice this during the time that you've conceived, or you're doing the asana practice at any point of time. See, once you start doing your practice, whatever the practices that you do, this shouldn't cause you a sense of discomfort and uneasiness. All the practices that you do should make you feel more free and more energetic and more liberated from inside. If it's causing too much of strain, too much of discomfort, and you feel uneasy, then there's something wrong that you're doing in your practice. But one more thing you have to remember: in the initial stages, even this is natural, because you don't know how to do. Even if the teacher is giving all the instructions the way it has to be given, you may not be receptive towards it. So naturally mistakes happen. There's nothing to worry about it. But this shouldn't happen throughout your journey. You're practicing yoga for the last 2-3 years, and every day you practice. If you feel like, oh, I have this tiredness, I have this uneasiness, then there's definitely something wrong with the way you're practicing. Okay, that's when you have to actually take a help of a teacher. If not, uneasiness, tiredness, body ache, discomfort, feeling nausea, overeating or undereating, these are all common things that happens once you start your journey on the practice. But once the practice starts to continue, a sense of lightness sets in both the body and the mind. Your quantity of eating also drops, irrespective of how much ever work that you do, because you're more aware of what is happening. See, the lack of awareness is what leads to overdoing or wrongdoing, because of which physical and mental strain sets in. When the awareness is there with respect to whatever work you do, effective utilization of the time, energy, and all the nutrients that have been that you have absorbed from the food that you have consumed will be effectively utilized. Since there is lack of awareness and you get lost in whatever work you do, it just results in you being in a race. That shouldn't happen. Being alert, most importantly being alive and experiencing what is happening, helps you cut down on your stress by like 99%. Be aware of what is happening. That's one of the most important things. The connection between the body and the mind is very, very essential. If this doesn't there, you get lost. It just causes a chain of reactions, and as a result of which, you get lost in whatever you do. And once you get lost, you feel drained out. You feel alive, trust me, when you connect to whatever the work that you're doing. You don't connect to it, you don't resonate, then what happens? You feel like, okay, it's causing a sense of burden, you don't like it, and then you start cribbing about it, and that causes more stress. So you'll be physically and mentally inducing your body and mind, and then ultimately you'll just break down on one particular day. But once you start continuing with the practice, over the span of time, naturally there's a sense of glow that sets in your face. Trust me, it does. And that's not something that the teacher did. It was his guidance, but it was you who did it for your own self. You'll be more disciplined. You have a routine. You have a system. Everything becomes systematic for you. Being not systematic becomes difficult for you. A sense of glow, freshness exists throughout the day. You feel more alive than you ever before, and you feel like, okay, there's a new wave of life that has that's come out of me that I myself didn't know. And imagine if you feel fresh and wanting to do something new, wanting to learn something new every single day that you wake up. How beautiful it's going to be, right? That is exactly what's going to happen. And most importantly, what happens when you practice asana? See, we have the asana practices named after sages, birds, animals, whatnot, insects. By practicing this, you are resonating the creation that exists around you in your own self. Okay, you're connecting to the creation that exists around you. See, all of us have this universal spirit which governs our functioning. By imitating all the creatures, all the sages, and going back in time to the our own past or our own lineage, connecting to our own history, be it how we evolved, this brings in a sense of gratitude within you. Like, you develop immense sense of respect for your own self and to the environment around you. Because if you don't develop a sense of respect and gratitude towards your own self, definitely you won't do that for your surroundings. You'll just be a very numb and a dumb person on the inside. So this is one of the most important things that you have to keep in mind. What am I doing in the asanas? Why are the asanas named after sages, birds, animals? What is the use of it? Yeah, getting the stretch, extension, keeping the body flexible, that's all secondary. But by imitating all those things that are there around you in the form of insects, birds, sages, saints, you are recreating the evolution that took place over the years. Like, you're traveling back in time and then you're coming to wherever you are. And this process, which helps you in connecting to where you were, and because of which wherever you are and whoever you are right now, helps you in becoming one with your own self. Okay, so these are another couple of things that you have to keep in mind. You can call it as precautions or requisites or do's and don'ts. Okay, so these are things you have to keep in mind. I hope you liked it. Please do share your views in the comments below. I'll try my best to answer them as soon as possible. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.